Alexis Sanchez, of course, as well. Just tell us why you've signed that boy.
Because I just find he has all the attributes of a modern striker, and as well because he can play on the flanks and through the middle, and so it gives you many opportunities, and he can score goals. He works very hard, but it's very important from the front now as well in the modern game, and hopefully will be a great success.
We were all waiting for a player like that. I mean, if you're an Arsenal fan, you again, I'm not having a go at anyone, but we're all waiting for that type of match winner. When you have a guy like Alexis Sanchez, anything can happen.
Looks like Tao's gone in. It doesn't look like his heart's in it anymore. But Sanchez, for me, if I could, in January, whatever money you can recruit, you might as well just get him out, because he just looks like he's not interested.
Lo tengo claro, pero no te lo puedo decir.
Do you think then there is a chance he could ever play in an Arsenal shirt again?
Yes, of course. If it doesn't happen, he will play on Saturday.
It's done. He's a Manchester United player. Let's talk about it. It's a 4.5-year deal, £350,000 a week, which will make him the highest paid player in the Premier League by quite some distance. Not the reported £505,000 a week, which represents what Manchester United will be paying altogether, including agents' fees, image rights and whatnot. It's a substantial amount of money. I mean, they can afford it. They are the biggest commercial club in the world. They are the biggest financial powerhouse in football in the world, bigger than Real Madrid. And who wear the number 7 shirt, made famous by the likes of George Best, Eric Cantona, David Beckham, Cristiano Ronaldo, to name but a few. And he said that it was always his dream to play for Manchester United, which I find bloody interesting, I'm not going to lie. I've seen interviews of Alexis when he said they didn't have a TV while he was growing up. So it's quite possible that Manchester United was one of the only clubs he even knew about. And these pictures have surfaced of Alexis wearing a throwback Manchester United training top. So basically, you were a mole. You were a snake in the grass waiting to reveal yourself. And his interview, laughable interview, right? Laughable. Claiming that he had a conversation with Sir Alex Ferguson. Mate, you don't even speak English, yeah? But he has said that the move was partly about the history of the club. And there is no denying that Manchester United are the biggest club in the country, at the very least in the Premier League. And this is where Arsenal fans in general just have to eat some humble pie. Arsenal are inferior as a club to Manchester United. They have won less titles, they make more money, they have more fans worldwide, they are a more marketable commercial brand. They are the Premier League's darling since its inception, really. And will always be favourites as long as they're bringing the most money in, which, as it stands, they are. That is the case in any kind of business. You know, you're going to favour your highest selling product, or your most marketable product is the one that you're going to push, right? Manchester United are the brand of choice for the Premier League and have been for quite some time, throughout my lifetime anyhow. So I can kind of understand when he's saying he wants to be on another level, he wants to achieve greater things, and that he wants to do it at the Theatre of Dreams. The advert, the announcement, Alexis playing the piano, incredible. Painful. I came to terms with this a long time ago, lads. In 3 weeks, it will be a year since I first heard that Alexis was off. Admittedly, it's a different Manchester club, but I would say as far as that goes, Manchester United at the moment are in a power struggle with Man City, and the blue side are looking dominant. Pep and his almost invincible Manchester United have pulled an absolute blinder on this one. You've got to hand it to Jose Mourinho, Ed Woodward and that team. They've seen a top-class player become available in the Premier League from one of their rivals and stolen him from right under the nose of their real rivals. Arsenal aren't their rivals. Arsenal are no longer in competition with Manchester United. You can talk about league tables and how Arsenal have finished ahead of United for a number of years, since Alex Ferguson retired. But the fact of the matter remains, you can see the difference in ambition. We, as a club, are lagging well behind Manchester United in terms of commercial revenue. The deals that they pull off are sensational in comparison to Arsenal. They blow Arsenal out of the water and will continue to do so as long as Arsenal keep selling their most valuable assets. And unfortunately, they were just left with no choice. The fact of the matter is we are living in changing times as far as the market goes, and I believe that in the future, as Wenger has said, the players will be running their contracts down a lot more just so that they can have the power and enable those huge signing on fees when they do eventually move. Mesut Ozil, another classic example of someone that appears to be running his contract down so that he has the best options available to him. He could have a shocking World Cup come back to Arsenal, who still will offer him a deal, and he'd be fine. He can also keep his options open by going to the World Cup, hoping that everything works out and that Germany do really well and he performs at a top level again, and another big club will come in for him. And the signing on fees you're talking about are literally about 20 to 25 million pounds. And that is worth the wait. I mean, I find this kind of laughable, right? The chance to work with Jose Mourinho. You told us it was Pep! It's clear to see that whilst Pep had dangled that carrot of come and play with us, you'll win a title, we can rekindle that fire. The fact that Manchester United have come in around the back door, out of nowhere, and thrown all their cards down on the table to make sure that they get their man, does show that they were very serious about making this deal happen. They were very, very serious about getting one over Manchester City. Simultaneously, building on what they've got already, adding to their plethora of top-class superstars, at the same time as destroying Arsenal internally. However, Arsenal have come out of the deal with a great option, an alternative that they could not have dreamed of, really. And I mean, if the video wasn't enough, the Instagram post really took the biscuit. He's talking about Martin Keown, right, who'd basically said that he was throwing a strop, that he was the biggest mercenary in football, and that he hadn't been given 100% for quite some time, and that he needed flushing from the arse, right? Alexis has actually said that Keown, former players, Keown, know nothing about internal affairs, of how Alexis had been giving 100%, and he obviously felt that he was being victimised. You're being victimised for a reason, mate, because you wouldn't put pen to paper, you know, and you start throwing your gloves around and throwing strops. But we'll come back to that. What I find incredible, the actual audacity of you, Alexis Sanchez, to drag the king Thierry Henry's name through the mud which you created. How dare you compare yourself to this club's greatest legend? There's a statue there for a reason, my friend. This man gave us years of superb service. Goals galore, double your goals, and more. Trophies, Premier League titles, gold ones, invincible seasons, Champions League finals. Yeah? Sorry, what have you done? What exactly have you done? FA Cup. You scored a goal against Villa. Right. So, you're comparing yourself thinking that you're on the same level, right? And that you have given us everything that you've got in your poxy 3-4 years. Yeah? You're now entitled that we should do you the favour of excusing you, of allowing you to make that move without being questioned. You're having a laugh. You're having an absolute laugh. I'll tell you what else. How dare you put those dogs in that scummy red top so soon? Those dogs have more loyalty in their little paws than you do in your whole physical being. And Thierry Henry has actually felt it necessary to come out on social media, on Twitter and on Instagram, by saying, I know I don't need to explain this to the majority of Arsenal fans, but contrary to speculation, at no time did I tell Alexis Sanchez to leave Arsenal. I had no idea he was going to sign for Manchester United until I saw it on the news like the rest of you. I'll tell you what, I love Thierry, but I don't know if I believe you, because you are basically a mascot for Manchester United now. From my personal perspective as an Arsenal fan, I just feel like Mkhitaryan's great. We're going to get on to Mkhitaryan very shortly, but to be honest, we got Mkhitaryan because that's what we're being given. You know, it's like your leftovers, your hand-me-downs. It's great. It's a coincidence as well that this is a player that Arsene Wenger and Arsenal in general wanted. It's someone that I thought we'd actually signed before Jose completely unnecessarily came in and took him from under our nose. Pointless signing, seeing as he didn't use him very much, even though his performances in Europa League were pretty sensational. He's left a lot to be desired and he hasn't fulfilled the potential that everyone knows he has. He certainly didn't hit the ground running. He's come from the Bundesliga, where he's the most creative player in the league. In the Bundesliga team of the season, most assists, most chances created, all this kind of great stuff, right? And he looks happy. He does look happy having made the move. You can see him in training, but it must have been quite difficult for him to drop his pride. His ego must for a second have got in the way and made him think, do I want to make the move? Do I want to be the pawn that enables this to happen? You know, the fact that he's left, and there's such an eerie silence amongst Arsenal players. Only 2 Arsenal players saying goodbye to him on social media. Mustafi, right? 2 words he got. 2 players. That suggests that there really was a problem, and that internally now we might be on the right track again. From a footballing perspective, even though it was against a lowly Palace side, that Palace side had lost once in like 8 or 11 games or something. Very difficult to beat away from home. And the football was what we have become used to without having a guy who is too greedy, loves being dispossessed, who loves making things happen, but has been frustrating the hell out of me for doing these little dinked balls into no one for God knows how long. He's 29, and like I said, I completely understand that this man has aspirations to be at the very top. He's been sold a dream. A very expensive dream as well, a very well-paid dream for him that it must have been almost impossible to turn down. There's no way that he was going to stay at Arsenal. The allure of playing at Manchester United, you've only really got 1 or 2 moves left in your career, probably 1 major move left in your career, knowing that you're going to be the top earner in the Premier League, you can sort your family out, agent sorted out, signing on fees all great, everything's looking cushy, baby, we're back, we're back on top. But knowing that, what are Manchester United getting? They're getting a player who's at peak or just past peak. I always say just past peak. I don't think he's going to be as good ever again as he was when he first came to the Premier League, but He's not been hungry for a while. Now he's going to be aiming to prove a point. This is his chance to take it to the very top, to compete at the highest level. He won't be going to the World Cup. You're watching the World Cup from home on the sofa, my friend. But he is a club who are in the Champions League, are technically still in the Premier League race, and will continue to compete for the best, the biggest trophies out there for years to come, because the investment in Manchester United is so intense. There's no way that they can fail in my eyes. They're building a squad that slowly but surely will just end up being at the top of the league. Give it a couple of years. He's going to score lots of goals. I think he's a fantastic addition to any club. But on the flip side, will he be able to achieve the same things that, say, Robin van Persie did in such a short amount of time at Manchester United? It's debatable. From a personal point of view, I find it very embarrassing that Arsenal again have let their best player go, or their most, a valuable asset go to Manchester United. It's like we don't learn. We're happy to accept the leftovers, the unwanted, the sloppy seconds that didn't work out for them. Danny Welbeck's, Mikel Sylvester's, and now Mkhitaryan, who I have to say is a top-class player. £30 million Manchester United paid for him from Borussia Dortmund in 2016. Someone that I hope can reignite their career at Arsenal, because he's become very underrated. And I'm trying to spin the positives on this, but from a Manchester United perspective, I would see this as, it's a beautiful deal. Beautiful deal. We get exactly what we want. We get a brand name. We get an electrifying forward. We get goals galore. And one of the most creative players in the Premier League, full stop. That said, Arsenal are getting a player who should be able to mould straight in with the rest of those guys who play a similar style of football. He's a pass master, the low centre of gravity, very quick. Goes on electrifying runs a lot of the time. And I think he'll link up very nicely with a certain Gabonese striker. If we could reignite that partnership at Arsenal, Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, we could be looking at an improvement in one window, which would be sensational for Arsenal. It's something that they've not been able to do for quite some time, and I reckon it's actually probably part of the reason why Ozil and Sanchez have both, or are both, contemplating leaving. When we signed these guys, there was a feeling that this was ushering in a new era. However, we've not really pushed the boat out, but for all the criticism that Wenger receives and the club receives, we're moving in a direction where there is renewed positivity about a kind of unity in the direction that people are pulling. We've had this catalyst for change thing for quite some time, but realistically now we look to be moving into a period where Sven, Huss, Ivan are actually working together to make things happen. Whether that is bringing in youngsters like Mavropanos or attracting the biggest stars like Aubameyang. I've been watching for quite some time, and I would be delighted to see in an Arsenal shirt. The number 7 has been given to Mkhitaryan now, so it's quite possible that he would need to take the 17 again, or be brave enough to inherit Thierry number 14. And I think that's what the fans need. And it does appear to be close. He's packing boxes at the training ground. It's all a bit suspect. His car was parked right next to where Sven, Ivan and Husk parked the other day when they turned up to get these talks started. These talks are supposed to be advanced now. We've had 2 or 3 bids turned down. Dortmund are really sticking to their guns as far as what it is exactly that they want from the deal. But I'm very positive. I've been told that this is actually happening. Relieved that this whole saga is over now, to be honest. I saw this coming a long time ago. Even with Oxlade-Chamberlain, I had his number. And I think it's good that you've got a couple of bad eggs out. I'm not saying that they are bad eggs, but it's no good for team morale when we're not all pulling in the same direction. As far as Mkhitaryan goes, Manchester United fans in general seem to think that he didn't quite have the character to forge a successful career at a really big club. But at the same time, will readily admit that he's a magical player on his day, capable of wonderful things, extremely creative, and I still think we're yet to see the best of him in the Premier League, and that much is promising. He can play on the wing, either wing, attacking mid, and I reckon if he was pushed, he could probably play Santi's place as well. Look, I'll be the first to admit that I've found this whole thing extremely humbling, and also further confirmation that Manchester United are Arsenal's superior, that we are living in their world, and they have the power to swoop in at any moment, and have been doing this for years. Rio Ferdinand, Wayne Rooney, Berbatov, Sheringham, all these top players from other Premier League sides that they have handpicked will continue to create dominance in the Premier League. It gives them a huge advantage, and it's only because nowadays that we've got other clubs who've had huge investment themselves that there is any competition. Otherwise they would have run away with it again. It's taking them a little while longer to get back into the swing of things, but I would say that as far as Project Manchester United goes, they are well on the way to regaining that Premier League title. As far as Arsenal go, if they don't get Aubameyang in, I would be very worried about where they're going to be able to replace Alexis Sanchez's goals from. I was over the moon when we signed Arshavin, you know. I really loved Nasri at the time. I did a tweet before we'd even signed Alexis from the World Cup, which some of you will remember. I always wanted Alexis. I couldn't believe. It was actually probably one of the first times that Arsenal had ever actually gone and signed a player that I wanted. We were in Brazil when it happened, and I was sat at a restaurant when I heard the news, and I was just running down the street, like taking my clothes off and in the pouring rain and just loving life. Alexis Sanchez, well, it's over. The dream is over, but we move on, you know. No one player is bigger than the club, but I'll tell you what, plenty of clubs are bigger than this club. Manchester United is one of them, and in that way, for that much, I can't really blame him too much, you know. What difference does it make, really? Except that in the case of City, Arsenal would have got, 20 mil? Or let him go for free to City at the end of the season, which would have been absolutely shocking business. Or, yeah, we messed up the £60 million deal, you know, from the last summer, but now we've managed to get a player with 3.5 years in his contract left, who was initially worth 30 million last year. With the market being inflated the way it is, I reckon he's probably worth 40, 45 now. I reckon we've lost about 15, 20 mil as opposed to 60. Well, that's fairly decent. Plus, the fact that it's a player instead of money, because Arsenal are so scared of spending any money, is much more positive for me. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below anyway. This has been a Let's Talk. I thought I'd just sit down and do an old school one. I know we're not in the kitchen or whatnot, but the lighting's better in here. Do you think Mkhitaryan will work out? If you're a United fan, are you sorry to see the back of him, or can you not wait to see Alexis Sanchez in that number 7 shirt, tearing it up and smashing them in from 25 yards? His first Premier League game is going to be at Wembley against Tottenham Hotspurs, and I think there'll be a few Arsenal fans who will still be supporting him. Anyway, I'm going to love you and leave you there. If you're liking the videos and whatnot, make sure you smash the hell out of that like button and subscribe if you're new. But for now, my name's been hughwizzy, and this has been the end of the saga. Finally.